Welcome back. Here is our next case study video from CA Final Paper 4 Old Course Mock Test Paper 1, that is Test Series March 2021. Okay, let's just go through the case study. Mr. Samir, holding 15% shares of TOV Limited, an unlisted company since 30th of September 2019, is unpaid to the extent of 10 lakhs, filed a petition with tribunal on 5th of April 2020 for winding up of TOV Limited, and a copy of the same was filed with Registrar of Companies. The registrar submitted his views to the National Company Law Tribunal (NCLT) on 18th May 2020. The ROC mentioned in his views that it was just and equitable that TOV Limited should be wound up on analyzing the information available with him with respect to the affairs of TOV Limited. The tribunal appointed provisional liquidator Mr. Raj on 20th of May 2020 without giving notice of the same, as well as without affording opportunity for making representations to the company. Mr. Raj is registered as an insolvency professional under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016, and he filed the declarations with respect to his independence to the tribunal on 25th of May 2020. Tribunal passed its order for winding up of TOV Limited on 16th of June 2020, and the provisional liquidator Mr. Raj was appointed as the company liquidator. The tribunal directed Mr. Samir to deposit an amount of rupees 1 lakh as security for cost of its precondition to issue directions to TOV Limited. The intimation thereof of passing such order was sent to Mr. Raj as well as the Registrar of Companies by the tribunal. The ROC, on receipt of such order from tribunal, made an endorsement to that effect in his records relating to TOV Limited, and also made a notification in the official gazette that such order of winding up has been made by the tribunal. Mr. Raj calculated the outstanding liabilities and debts of TOV Limited, which amounted to 70 lakhs, and the expenses of winding up was estimated at 3 lakhs. TOV Limited has at present 8 members which are holding shares unpaid to the extent of 40 lakhs in total. Following were the past members of the company. Mr. Kishan ceased to be a member on 23rd of March 2019, from whom TOV Limited has unpaid calls on shares amounting to 8 lakhs. At the time when Mr. Kishan ceased to be a member, the outstanding liabilities of the company were only 5 lakhs. Mr. Dhawan ceased to be a member on 28th of May 2019, from whom TOV Limited had unpaid calls shares amounting to 16 lakhs. At the time when Mr. Dhawan ceased to be a member, the outstanding liabilities to the company were only 13 lakhs. Mr. Tanmay, who ceased to be a member on 17th of June 2019, was having unpaid calls on shares of TOV Limited amounting to 15 lakhs. At the time when Mr. Tanmay ceased to be a member, the outstanding liabilities of the company were only 10 lakhs. TOV Limited created a floating charge as agreed on the stock of the company on 23rd of August 2019 to secure a current account with the Munim Bank, which was in debit by 12 lakhs from 1st of May 2019, and thereafter the bank also advanced 15 lakhs on 1st of September 2019 for meeting the operating expenses of the company. Munim Bank charged 1,18,500 as interest for the financial year ending on 31st of March 2020 by debiting the said current account of TOV Limited, and the total amount of 27 lakhs, that is 12 lakhs plus 15 lakhs, as TOV Limited remained solvent during the financial year 1920. So that's all with the case study. Now let's move on to the MCQ questions that were asked. Whether Mr. Samir was eligible to file petition for winding up against TOV Limited? Yes, he is eligible. Let's go through this screenshot. Petition by contributory. A contributory shall be entitled to present a petition for winding up of a company, shares in respect of which he is a contributory, or some of them were either originally allotted to him or have been held by him and registered in his name for at least 6 months during the 18 months immediately before the commencement of winding up, or have devolved on him through the death of the former holder. So in the present case, Mr. Samir is holding shares from 30th of September 2019. However, the winding up has started on 25th of May 2020. Please note that the winding up has started on 25th of May, not on 20th of May, because the provisional liquidator gave his representation of independence on 25th of May. So the actual winding up will start on 25th of May. Therefore, he is holding shares for more than 6 months, right? Therefore, he is eligible to file a petition for winding up. So the correct option for this question is option D. Yes, he is holding shares for 6 months or more prior to presenting such petition for winding up. Therefore, option D is the correct option. We'll go through the next question. What was the last date available with ROC to submit his views to NCLT on the petition filed by Mr. Samir and with the NCLT to pass order for winding up respectively? See, ROC should submit its views within 30 days from the date of presentation of petition. However, NCLT may grant an extension of more 30 days. So 30 plus 30, it is 60 days. And NCLT should pass its order within 90 days from the date of petition. See, here it is. Copy of petition with registrar. A copy of petition made under this section shall also be filed with the registrar, and the registrar, without prejudice to any other provision, submit his views to the tribunal within 60 days. Sorry, it is 60 days, not 30 plus 30. It is 60 days from the date of receipt of such petition. Therefore, when did the petition was filed? Petition was filed on 5th of April 2020, right? From there, you should count 60 days. So, it is coming to 25 plus 31. Is that so? 25 plus 31 is coming to 56 plus 4. It is 4th of July. Right? 4th of June 2020. And obviously that is the only option that is available for us, option B. But we'll also go through the NCLT's point of view. It is 90 days from the date of presentation of appeal. The petition was presented on 5th of April. From there, you should count 90 days. 60 days is coming to 4th of June. From there, you should add 30. Simple mathematics. It is coming to 4th of July 2020. Therefore, the correct option is option B, 4th June and 4th July respectively. We'll go through the next question. Whether the act of tribunal can be considered valid for not giving notice of appointment of a provisional liquidator, Mr. Raj, as well as the opportunity for making representations of TOV Limited. Yes, it is valid. Let me just take you through the question. See, I have not been given this point with the earlier question. The time limit for passing an order by tribunal is 90 days from the date of presentation of petition. Okay. Let's move on to the current question. Yes, a notice to the company on appointing of provisional liquidator. Before appointing a provisional liquidator under clause C, the tribunal shall give notice to the company and afford a reasonable opportunity to it to make its representation, if any. Unless for special reasons to be recorded in writing, the tribunal thinks fit to dispense with such notice. So, if the tribunal feels that there is some special reasons which are recorded in writing, so there won't be any opportunity that will be given to the company, and the tribunal may straightforward move for the appointment of a provisional liquidator and the winding up. Therefore, the tribunal is valid. So, where it is given valid, option B and option C is saying valid, yes. So, we need to go through only these two options. Option B says valid if, in the opinion of tribunal, there were some special reasons, whether recorded in writing or not. So, if it is not written in writing, then tribunal has no such power to take away the opportunity of being heard of the company. Therefore, option B is wrong. Option C says valid if in the opinion of the tribunal there was some special reasons recorded in writing for not giving notice, as well as the opportunity for making representations, if any, to TOV Limited. Therefore, option C is the correct option. We'll go through the next question. How much amount Mr. Kishan, Mr. Dhawan and Mr. Tanmay would be liable to pay as a contributory if in case tribunal calls past members to satisfy the contributions. So I want you to go through this particular screenshot. It is saying a person go to the table. A person who has been a member shall not be liable to contribute if he has ceased to be a member for the preceding 1 year or before or more before the commencement of winding up. In the current situation, winding up commenced on 25th of May 2020, right? I'm not sure about the date. 25th of, yeah, it is 25th of May 2020. You can get it in the third paragraph. Mr. Raj has given his representation to independence on 25th of May. Therefore, the winding up has started on 25th of May. So if any person who is ceased to be a member before 25th of May 2019, that is 1 year before the date of commencing of winding up, he is not liable for any compensations. Okay. And then second point says a person who has been a member shall not be liable to contribute in respect of any debt or liability of a company if such debt or liability contracted after he ceases to be a member. So suppose a person ceased to be a member on 25th of October 2020. It means after the commencement of winding up. On such date, he is liable to pay some 10 rupees. Let us assume that it is 10 rupees. And he is only liable to the extent of that 10 rupees only, not beyond that. Hope you are clear with this point. Now we'll go through the question. Question is saying that there are three persons, Mr. Kishan, Mr. Dhawan and Mr. Tanmay. Date of winding up is 25th of May 2020. 1 year from the preceding the date of commencement is 25th of May 2019. So any person who is ceased to be a member before 25th of May 2019 is not liable for any contribution towards liabilities, right? Therefore, Mr. Kishan, who ceased to be a member on 23rd of March 2019, is not liable, right? So any person who is ceased to be a member before 25th of May 2019 is not liable, because we have read the provision. Therefore, Mr. Kishan is not liable for any contribution towards liabilities. And Mr. Dhawan and Mr. Tanmay are falling within this time limit of 1 year preceding the commencement of winding up. Therefore, these two people need to contribute towards the liabilities. But to what extent? To the extent of outstanding liabilities when they are ceased to be a member. Mr. Dhawan is ceased to be a member on 28th of May 2019, wherein the outstanding liabilities of the company were only 13 lakhs. So, Mr. Dhawan is liable only to the extent of 13 lakhs. And Mr. Tanmay is ceased to be a member on 17th of June 2019, and his outstanding liabilities as on that date is 10 lakhs. So it is 13 lakhs and 10 lakhs respectively, and moreover the amount outstanding on their shares are more than the liabilities. Therefore, Mr. Dhawan is liable for 13 lakhs, Mr. Tanmay for 10 lakhs, Mr. Kishan for 0. Right? We'll go through the options. See, Mr. Kishan shall not be liable. 13 and 10 are visible in option B and C. Therefore, we'll go through those two options. Mr. Kishan, Mr. Dhawan and Mr. Tanmay shall be liable for 5, 13 and 10 respectively. No, Mr. Kishan is not liable. Therefore, option C says, Mr. Kishan shall not be liable to pay any amount. Yes. Mr. Dhawan and Mr. Tanmay shall be liable to pay 13 and 10 lakhs respectively. So, that is the correct option. Option C is the correct option for fourth MCQ. And then the last MCQ for this question. How much amount of floating charge created on the stocks of TOV Limited shall be valid, and how much interest shall be allowed if no other rate is specified by the central government other than the rate prescribed in the act? The only thing I want you to identify here is, see, this particular company has taken a loan, floating charge, right? It is, yeah, floating charge created on stock for 12 lakhs on 1st of May, and some operating expenses. A bank has also advanced 15 lakhs towards the operating expenses. Any which ways, these two are need to be considered while calculating the liabilities. So the company is liable to pay 12 plus 15, 27 lakhs. But what about the interest rate? The bank has charged 1,18,500 towards the interest. What is the maximum allowable interest under this case? I'll quickly take you through the point. See, effect of floating charge. Where a company is being wound up, a floating charge on the undertaking or the property of the company created within 12 months immediately preceding the commencement of winding up shall, unless it is proved that the company immediately after the creation of charge was solvent, be invalid. So, if after the creation of charge it is proved that the company is solvent, then it should be included, right? So this is what this point is saying. Shall, you just skip this particular point, shall be invalid except for the amount of cash paid to the company at the time of or subsequent to the creation of, and in consideration for the charge together with an interest thereon at a rate of 5%. So it is saying, if company has created some floating charge within the 1 year, then it should be treated as invalid. However, if it is proved that the company is solvent at the time of taking a floating charge, and even after the taking of this loan, after creating a floating charge, then such liability should be included. And the maximum interest rate that is allowed is only 5%, right? 5% per annum or such other rate as specified by the central government in this behalf. But in the current situation, there is no such rate specified. Now we'll go back to the question. How much amount of floating charge created on the stock shall be valid? How much stock shall be valid? 12 plus 15. Even though they are created within a period of 1 year prior to the commencement of date of winding up, they are considered to be valid because after taking such loan, the company is solvent at that point of time. And other than and what shall be the interest that is allowed? So it is 12 plus 15 on 12% and on 12 lakhs and 15 lakhs, you need to charge an interest of 5%. But now you need to consider the number of months that it is outstanding. On 1st of May, that 12 lakhs loan has been taken. So it is of 11 months. Let me just take you through the calculator. Okay, so it is 12 lakhs into 5% into 11 divided by 12. So it is getting to 55,000, right? Interest on that 12 lakhs is 55,000. Please remember this point, and we'll go back to the next part. That is 15 lakhs that was taken by the company for meeting its operating expenses. 15 lakhs into 5% into how many months that this is outstanding? This was taken on 1st of September, right? So September, October, November, December, Jan, Feb, March. So it is 7 months. So you need to calculate interest for only 7 months. 7 divided by 12. So it is 43,750 is the interest on 15 lakhs amount. Plus we have already considered that 12 lakhs, we have already calculated interest on 12 lakhs, that is 55,000, right? So the total interest that is allowed is 98,750. So interest allowed is 98,750 and the liability taken is 12 plus 15, that is 27 lakhs. Therefore, option C is the correct option. The amount of floating charge treated to be valid is 27 lakhs and the interest that is allowed is 98,750. Hope you are clear with this point. That's all. We have completed the first case study from MTP 1 of CA Final Law Old Courts. If you guys understood this particular calculation of interest, that's fine. If not, please comment below. I will be very happy to re-explain this particular part. That's all for today. If you find these videos helpful, please do like, share and subscribe. Do share with your friends and help them to revise at the earliest. Thanks for watching.